Hey everybody, it's Maddie from Mostly Maddie. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, hello. Thank you for being here. Today I wanted to share my journaling ecosystem. This is a term that I've been seeing around on TikTok and I thought it was really cool. Everyone just kind of sharing all of the different journals and planners that they use, whether it's daily or sporadically throughout the year. And this is my current stack in my journaling ecosystem. And yes, I recognize this is a lot of journals. Trust me, I know, but I do not use all of these daily. I don't even use all of these weekly. So I want to give you a tour of all of my different journals and how I use them and what I use them for. And maybe I'll show a couple pages as I'm kind of talking through everything too, to kind of do a show and tell for you. So if that is something you're interested in, please feel free to stick around. So like I mentioned, that is a big pile, but I don't use every journal and planner every single day. There are ones that I use occasionally, and I'm going to start with the ones that I use less frequently and work my way to the ones that are my daily journals. So the first one I'm going to share with you is my creative journal. This is a Leuchtturm B5 and it is in the soft cover. Now this is what I said is my creative journal. I do a lot of junk journaling and scrapbooking and basically anything that's like overflow, because I do daily data journals, and if there's anything kind of that overflows, I will tend to put it in here if I have a lot of junk from a trip, kind of just whenever the creativity strikes me. So I don't grab this every day. Sometimes I'll go weeks without using this, and it really depends. Like I've filled one of these up in like 2 months, and sometimes it takes me 6 months. It really just depends on what's going in my life and, you know, what kind of creativity I'm feeling. These are more of like the cute scrapbooky spreads that sometimes I use junk in them. Sometimes I use things from mailers that I get. It really just depends. And I just like to have fun and play in here. And I've changed the size in which I use for this creative journal. I have done an A5 hardcover and this B5. I've done a hardcover and a soft cover. So I just like to experiment and kind of see. It really just depends. I do like the bigger pages just so I have more room to kind of play and have fun, but I do like switching it up. I have so many unused notebooks, so I kind of just use what's on my shelf, and right now that is this one. The next one I'm going to talk about is my hiking journal. This is a Midori MD notebook, and it is in a B6 Slim size. I really do like this size. And this is just a place where I capture all of my family's hiking adventures. So it is really just pictures and stickers from one sticker book that I use to kind of keep it all consistent. It's really low key, and I don't really write anything. All I do is I put the location and the date when the hike happened. And I don't even really necessarily fill this out right after the hike. It's kind of just whenever I have free time and want to fill this out. There have been times where I've had like 4 hikes that I've had to put in here. The nice thing is, because of its size and since I'm just using pictures and a few stickers, it's very easy to fill out and it doesn't take me long. Like I said, it's just kind of low key, low stress. Next up is my coffee journal. This is also a Midori MD notebook, and this is an A6 passport size, so it's a little smaller than the B6 I just showed you. And this is where I just document all of our coffee adventures. Whether it's trying new coffee shops or brewing different coffee at home, I will cut out the bags of the coffees that we try and include them in here, make notes about coffees that we liked, we didn't like, different shops that I've gone to, ones that have like cool, fun seasonal menus. It's just anything coffee related. I think I've done a couple tea things in here too. It's a really fun, like small hobbies journal. And I would say this is a really good size for any sort of like hobby journaling, especially if you're nervous about filling up space and pages. I love this, and I'm a huge fan of the Midori MD notebooks because they lay flat, so it makes it just super easy. When you're putting things down, you don't have to really worry about, you know, like trying to fight your pages, which is really nice. Next up, we have my ink log. This is where I put all of my found inks when I'm swatching them. This isn't a dated 2025 Sterling ink monthly booklet. It didn't need to be dated necessarily. It was just the one that I ended up grabbing. So this is just a place I like the calendar view because I just like having the little squares for all of the inks. I just feel like it looks really neat and is a fun way to categorize all of my inks. So I have them in here by kind of the color scheme. And yeah, I just use this one whenever I get newfound ink and want somewhere to put it. And since I am an ambassador for Ferris wheel press, this is my 2025 swatch calendar. I started doing this in 2024 just to kind of show all the different inks that they are launching throughout the year, and it's just been a really fun place to kind of keep all of those inks organized as well. Next up is the Hobonichi Weeks. I don't really grab this daily anymore. I used to use the Hobonichi Weeks and use it kind of as a daily journaling practice. I have, however, like grown out of this just because I needed more writing space. This was what I used originally to like get back into journaling, and it was perfect because you just had that small square for every day. However, now I'm kind of using it as a health and hobbies journal. So I track my running plan for the week and then everything that I'm currently reading. If we have different media we're consuming, like television shows, sometimes I just like write notes about what we're watching, and then I put my running miles over here. In the front of it for the calendar views, that is where I kind of just track how long every book took me to read. And I also have this where I'm kind of just putting a pink dot on every day that I finish a book. And I have all of the arcs that I'm reading, just like the date that they're going to be published, so I could kind of see where everything is. And this like year at a glance is where I do my exercise tracker. And really right now it's mostly just running because I'm training for a marathon. So like I said, this is like health and hobbies, but honestly right now it's pretty much just reading and running since I am training for a marathon. I don't really have time to do any sort of other exercise. However, when the marathon's over, I'll get back into doing more of like my Orange Theory classes. I'll probably start to Peloton more. Like I made a little spread for tracking all my Peloton workouts. And yeah, we'll get into that, you know, once the marathon is over. In the back, I have been writing highlights and quotes from different books. If there was anything that kind of stuck out to me that I wanted to annotate, I've been writing them in here. So yeah, this is more like weekly, bi-weekly. I'm not like super strict about keeping up with this just because it's kind of like more of an archive than like actively using it, because I also put everything into my daily planner, which I will get into in a minute. Next up is the Hobonichi A6 Hon, and I got this and I didn't really know what I was going to use it for. I loved my Hobonichi A5 from last year. That was where I did all of my memory keeping. However, I had unfortunately had paper quality issues. When I bought this though, the paper in here seems to be working wonderfully. So I thought to myself, well, I want to continue to use it because I love Hobonichi. I love the format. So for a while I was doing a doodle a day, which was really fun. It was like a cool illustrative way to capture something small throughout, you know, every day. It started to get a little tiresome for me though, and started feeling more like a chore. And I feel like with any of my journals, if it starts to feel like, oh, I have to do this, I stopped doing it, because for me, journaling is all meant to be fun. And if I'm not having fun doing it, I don't want to be doing it. Like, it's just like, it doesn't motivate me. So I have fallen off with the doodling. I've kind of been playing with just making, you know, fun little spreads in here again. But yeah, I'm not really sure what to do with this. So TBD, it's still kind of in the mix, but it is not being used daily, even weekly at this point. Next up, I have these two, and these are my morning pages or stream of conscious journaling. It's kind of gone back and forth. I don't always necessarily do it in the morning, but it's just like sitting down and putting pen to paper. And yes, I have two because I'm so indecisive and I change my mind all the time with like what I want to do, what paper I want to work in, what format I want to do. This is kind of a fun where I can just experiment because it's just writing. It's really like low. I don't really have to like worry about anything. So I started the year in this is another Midori MD notebook. This is an A5 lined notebook, and I just put a leather cover on it. This cover is from Jenica Journals. It is so beautiful, and I added a charm. And yeah, it's just a plain Midori notebook. And like I said, it's just morning pages. So it's just stream of conscious writing. And at the end, I did the first 2 months of the year in here. And then at the end of February, I was really getting the itch to try a different journal just to see what a different experience would be like. So that was when I switched over to my traveler's notebook, which I have traditionally only used for traveling and collecting junk and like making those kind of spreads. However, I got an insert from Sarica Studio that has a Tomoe River paper so that I could experiment with my different fountain inks, because I really wanted to try to use those more. And so this was kind of more like I was adding stickers and being a little more aesthetic with it. And I love the way this looks. However, practicality wise, I found myself reaching for this less and not doing it as daily. Because I was adding these stickers, it was just kind of like adding an extra step. And part of the point of morning pages is like, you're really just supposed to start going. It shouldn't be anything you're like thinking too hard about. The other problem too was because it's long form journaling and you're supposed to just be writing, I was getting a lot of hand fatigue and hand cramping because the grid in this notebook is really small. So I was like having to force myself to write smaller than I'm really used to. and it was just getting really uncomfortable. And again, like with morning pages, you just don't really want that. You want to have like no barriers when you're doing that. And so I decided to finish up March in here, and then now I am back in here for April. So once this one gets filled out, maybe I'll get the itch to go back into the traveler's notebook. Again, I have a whole shelf full of unused notebooks, so maybe I'll try something different out at the end of the month. We'll see. Now, you may be familiar with this if you've been on my channel. This is the Wonderland222, and this has been my planner for the year. I am absolutely obsessed with this planner. It's my first year using it, and I just haven't really used a traditional plan. I haven't used a planner in a traditional sense really since like my working days. When I became a stay-at-home parent, I thought I didn't need a planner, and I don't know why I thought that, because it's actually been really helpful for me, and I've been really, really loving this. It is a weekly view in this planner. However, I have kind of butchered it up a little bit, and I've broken it into different sections. So we have weather, events, to-dos, and our meal for dinner. We're trying to cut down on our food waste this year, so having like meal prepping and planning has been really helpful in reducing that food waste. It also gets me excited to try different recipes and things like that. Husband and I have started rating all of our meals, and so now I'm adding like star ratings to any new recipes we're trying. So it's been really fun, and I gravitate towards this. I come to this every day. I've really enjoyed it. There's trackers in here. In the back, there's a bunch of blank daily pages. I've been using them more for like logs and different things. Like I have my running log back here. As I've mentioned, if you've seen other videos on my page, you probably have seen me fill this out before. So I just use those pages for kind of different logs, which again is why I don't really reach for my weeks as much anymore, because I'm tracking all of that in here as well in the weeks. So this is what I use daily, and I am obsessed with this, and I love it so much. Lastly, we have my Pride and Joy, which is my memory keeping journal, and I use a dated planner for my memory keeping, which I know is not everyone's cup of tea. However, it forces me to sit down every day and document our lives. And as a stay-at-home parent, there are often days where we don't do a lot. Like we sit at home, we hang out, we play in the backyard. And this kind of forces me to sit there and think about all of like the little tiny moments that maybe I would have otherwise forgotten about and capture them in here. And it has been so much fun. I do, in some of the sections, I do like a glimmer a day where I just write one quick thing, like a funny memory from the day. In the monthly pages, I'm doing a photo a day, which is really cool, especially having small kids. Seeing all of their faces change throughout the months has been really neat. For a while, I was doing like weekly reports and the weekly spreads. I've stopped doing that, and I don't really do much in the weeklies anymore. I always struggle with the weekly pages, and I just never know what to do with them. For the daily pages, it's every day is a little bit different. Some days I kind of scrapbooky, sometimes it has ephemera or junk from our life. I use a lot of pictures just because I take so many pictures. It's nice to finally have somewhere for all of them to kind of live outside of my phone. And I have looked back on my 2024 memory keeping journal already 5 or 6 times this year. So I've enjoyed it so much. And I just know, especially having small kids, like everything just happens so quick, and then all of a sudden, like they're out of these little moments that you would have otherwise forgotten about. So to have them captured here and be like, oh yeah, I remember when they were super obsessed with that Gorilla Smash song, and like just little tiny things that are really fun to remember. I love the idea of a baby book, and I love the idea of a scrapbook, and this really kind of merges and blends those two things, and it has just been so much fun. I've loved doing this for the past 2 years, and this is the one that I probably grab the most outside of my planner. And this one I forgot to mention, this is a Septcouleur. I picked this up at Chicago Stationery Fest. It's the Comfort Mint color. This paper is so buttery smooth and soft. I wish you could feel it. It is amazing, and it has been so fun writing in this. So I have taken this and I threw this in my bag now, and I just kind of use it to jot down those little memories so that when I go back in here at the end of the day, I have a place where I'm like, oh yeah, I remember like my kid said something funny. And since this is in my bag, I can just write it down really quick. And then I can kind of capture it in like a cool way in my memory keeping journal later in that day. I've also used it to just jot down like content ideas, just like random things, because I don't take any of my journals or planners with me out into the world. So this is really if we're out and about and I just like need somewhere to put something, that's kind of what I've been using this for. And that is it. That is the final tour of all of my journals that I'm currently using right now. There are other journals that I also use, like I have a Read Around the World journal, but I have not really started that project. It's just kind of been in the back of my mind, but I made the journal for it. So I didn't even show that one because I'm just like, I'm not actively using that one. These are all things that I'm like currently actively using or have used at least one time so far in the year of 2025. So thanks for sticking around. If you have any questions about anything, let me know. I'm happy to answer them. I'll be sure to put details of every notebook or planner that I mentioned into my caption in case you have a question about any of them. If you stuck around, thanks so much for watching, and I would love to hear about your journaling ecosystem. If you have one or if you just use one, tell me all about it. I just love hearing about how other people use their journals in their daily life. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.